Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am excited to share my conversation today with Carla Reeves. She is somebody who is, I like to say, retired. She retired after 10 years in corporate America. So she didn't retire, but she retired from corporate America. She worked in HR and IT, and now she works with executives, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. Also, just in general, driven professionals, and they rely on her for lifestyle and mindset coaching. And she really helps them call out their blind spots, expand their perspective, and create a more fulfilling way of showing up in their work and in their lives. She, again, retired at age 32 to raise her boys and live the entrepreneurial lifestyle she loves. What she knows to be true is that people are far closer than they realize to the very things they deeply desire. And she really loves empowering individuals to make simple, profound shifts in the way they experience everyday life. It is truly, truly her passion. So welcome to the show today, Carla.
Thank you, Felina. I'm really excited and honored to be here.
Well, I'm excited to share your story. I love the fact that you say you retired. Very appropriate. So take us back before we talk about your business and what you're doing currently. We want to learn more about you. So take us back. Who are you? Take us through your career path, those 10 years in corporate. And then we'll get to current day and your business and what you're up to.
Perfect. Yes. So, moved to Arizona. I grew up in California, moved to Arizona, and really started my corporate career at that time and loved it. It was an incredible journey. I've always loved to work, and it was very fulfilling. And I left when I became pregnant. Left to go on maternity leave and really didn't know if I was going to go back. I didn't plan to not go back, but after having my first son, had the opportunity to stay at home and chose that. That choice was very, very clear once I knew that was something that we could do, and once I saw that little baby boy. I had dreamed of being a mom from the time I was very young. And so I was excited to take that journey and to be home. And after about 8 months, when my son was about 8 months, I started to really feel something inside of myself. Like I had gotten so absorbed in being a mom that I began to forget who I was and how to take care of myself. And at the time I looked around and really saw a lot of moms who were struggling and surviving and honestly quite miserable. And that would ripple to the way that they parented their children. And I knew I didn't want that. But I wasn't sure how to do anything different. And at that point in time, it really became my mission to figure out how to be a happy mom. I thought if I could do that for my children, that would be one of the greatest gifts I could give them. And I felt an incredible calling to write at that time. And I started writing and journaling to figure out how to take care of myself and be a great mom. And after pages and pages of writing, for whatever reason, I went back and reflected on what I had written and what had happened and transpired on the pages. And in that moment, I was really, really struck by what occurred on the pages of my journal. And this was over, a period of months. But I I realized that not only had I figured out how to be a happy mom, but all these other things had occurred too. I tapped into this creativity I didn't know I had, and this spiritual part of myself, um, and like just all of these different, this self-acceptance had happened on the pages of my journal, and there was just quite this journey that had occurred. And I knew in that moment that I was like, I'm here to help people, to teach people journaling as a way to navigate their life and tap into their inner wisdom and compass. And so that really launched the first business that I ever did, which was called Sanity Journals. And it was really to inspire.
I love that name, Carla. I saw that and I was like, all right, I got that. That totally just straight to the point.
Yes, and it really was. It was for my own sanity and to help other people with their sanity as well. And it was to teach and inspire people to use writing as a tool to access their inner wisdom and compass. And so I did that for a number of years. And a company in Canada actually reached out after I had done some speaking about it and said, hey, you're passionate about journaling, and so are we. And we have this online software. And I ended up partnering with them and using their software to create an online journaling lounge where people could connect and grow. And then I went to the president after building a relationship with her and said, you know, I really want to take this business to the next level, but I don't know what to do. Would you mentor me? And she said, I don't think you need a mentor. I think you know what to do. I just think you're in your own way, and I think you should go through our coaching program. Well, that was my first introduction to coaching. And I did. I went through the program, and the coaching was amazing. But bigger than that, I fell in love with this idea. They use journaling with their clients, and I fell in love with this idea of marrying the journaling piece that I was already doing with a coach to really, really elevate the ability to help and support people in making positive, radical, amazing change in their life.
Thank you for
So
sharing
that's
that.
how
I wanna pause on a couple things. I actually wanna go way, way back, and then we'll continue to come back forward to present day. This conversation we're having, Carla, is it's so similar to so many conversations I have, and I'm sure you as well, in that, folks, they come out of college, they do the thing that we do, which is, go get a job and, go work for XYZ company and do their thing. And then, there's this point that happens for some folks. It's, I was in corporate and there was just the politics and I wasn't making the impact. And for folks, as you mentioned, and again, I have this conversation almost daily at Hera Hub. It's, you know what? I had my first child, or sometimes it was, I had my second child. And it was that pause point to say, you know what really matters in the world? What am I here to do? But I want to go past that a little bit and go back to what you talked about of that really changes your identity. I mean, it's the most wonderful, amazing thing to become a mother. But I know so many women who, as you alluded to, kind of struggled a little bit of, if I'm interpreting what you said correctly, of who am I and what is this and what, I mean, it's a very interesting time for a lot of people in their lives. Are you continuing to, it sounds like for a long time you worked with, are you continuing to work with women in that stage, that big transition point in their lives?
Yeah, so I definitely still work with women and men that are in some sort of transition. It's not always the transition into motherhood, but it might just be there's some level of dissatisfaction or unfulfillment, whether it's in a career or grappling to take that next leap or move. And absolutely, I do work with people in that transition, and it is to, a lot of times the people that I work with feel powerless to shifting or changing their life. And so my role is really to help return them to the power that they do have, right? There's a lot of things that we sometimes can't control, but there's so many elements that you can control. And my role is to return them to those. And that's really what occurred on the pages of my journal, right? There were a lot of things I couldn't control, a lot of things that had changed, but it was time for me to really figure out who I wanted to be in the circumstances I was in. So up until that point, like you said, I was going through life sort of checking the boxes that I thought would lead to happiness. You know, go to school, get married, have a baby, you know, everything on the outside looked good. But inside, there were many parts of me that were empty. And I had to go back and sort of do the inside work. And as I did the inside work, then everything on the outside started to shift. And that's what I help clients do, is a lot of times we're trying to change the external things, you know, move to the new job, change a relationship, move to a new city in order to feel better. And what my job is let's deal with the inside first and clean that up, and then see if it's really the external change that you want. Because what happens is people leap from thing to thing to thing trying to feel better. And while they may get to that new circumstance and feel better for a little while, often they fall back and they're like, oh, like I'm in a new situation or a new relationship, but the same old thing is showing up. And that's because we haven't done that inner work. And so if you can do the inner work and then have greater clarity to go, do I really need to change the external, or did that change everything? Because often when you change the inside, everything starts to look and feel different on the outside. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So let's talk about, I know this is a very deep, complex subject, but give us some highlights of what some of that inner work looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of the things that I walk clients through is first just understanding the power of your thinking. You know, our thinking is running 24/7. It's with us from the start of the day to the end of the day. And often it's our worst enemy. And so a lot of the work I do with clients is one, to first just examine and shine a big light on what's happening up there and how is that impacting your experience of life. And where's their untruth, and where can we pull out some untruth and maybe some old outdated thoughts that really don't align with what you're up to anymore. So we do a lot of cleanup and on your thinking and your beliefs, and looking at the stories that you're telling yourself, so that people can really, really take responsibility for that. Because as you start to shift that, everything starts to change. And nothing has to necessarily change on the external. But if you change that inside, it's like cleaning up your lens, if you will. It's like a pair of glasses. So the first part of our work is to identify what's on that lens, because it's shading everything. And then to clean that up and restore that in a way that gives you more mobility in your world, that gives you more joy, that gives you more ease, like that. So that's some of the initial work that we do.
I want to pause on that for a second. I came to a realization for myself recently, and I've written about this a little bit, which is going back to what you said, this internal dialogue that we have from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. You know, there's a lot going on up there, and we're, you know, we're thinking, we're replaying things. Sometimes I call that the hamster wheel, you know, replaying conversations we had, and, oh, what if I'd said this, and, you know, so on and so forth. What I realized in having a conversation, this was a couple years with someone on my team, is, and I never, it's going to sound really silly, but I never really thought about this. I, of course, have internal dialogue. We all do. But what I realized is most of the day, I'm playing music in my head. I'm literally like, you know, not singing out loud, but in my head, like the whole, you know, band is in there, and, you know, the song and the whole thing. And I'm walking around, I'd say probably at least 80% of the day with music playing in my head. And I'm like, and at first I thought, well, does that mean I'm not very intelligent. I mean, but what I think I came to with it is it actually allows me not to have that internal running dialogue. I'm not replaying those conversations
Mm.
by and large. I guess I don't know what that means. Any insight on this,
Mm.
Carla?
Yeah, well, I guess the first question I would ask you is, why does it make perfect sense that you, Felina, have that? Like, can you link that to anything? Like, why that would make perfect sense?
I've had this conversation with some family members, my dad and his sister, my aunt, and what I noticed when I noticed this in myself and I thought back to my family is I always growing up, my dad was always humming or singing a song
Mm.
and I spent some time with my aunt in Sweden last year and I noticed that in her, she was just like always kind of humming and, just kind of trotting along, so to speak. And I thought, well, maybe is this an inherited thing? I mean, I don't
Sure,
know.
you might.
I love music, so there's that. But
I love that. I think that's beautiful, and I think it's very rare and unique. So I say lean into that and love that about yourself because that's, I mean, the goal really, like when I work with clients, is to calm that noise, right? Because just a lot of noise. And so to calm that noise, and it sounds like naturally have that ability. So that's a beautiful thing.
thank you. I it's still something I'm kind of discovering and thinking about and learning
Yeah, be
about. And
curious
yeah,
about, enjoy that.
yeah.
Yeah, because for most people, we're really trying to calm that, because as you can calm that, there makes space for new ideas and new thoughts, right?
hmm
New ways of thinking.
Yeah, I guess maybe my question around this is, am I because I'm not quieting my mind exactly. I'm playing music, so it's not quiet. And I will say I struggle with the idea of meditation. So I'm a pretty um amped up person, for lack of a better phrase. I like to go, go, go. And so sitting still and meditating, as much as I would love to do it, the times I've tried, I struggle with it a bit. So I'm not sure that somehow I would like to get to just, a void of any thinking for at least a few
Hmm.
minutes. But perhaps that's where journaling comes in too. I want to go back to that part of the conversation. Is that something, a tool that you still use with your clients? Are you still actively journaling? Let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so I definitely still use that tool with my clients. And, my coach training is actually to use the writing to help people see their blind spots and see where their thinking is getting in their way and where it's actually helping them and reflect that back to them. And for myself, yes, journaling is just a daily practice for me. It's a very centering tool. It's not, on most days, it's not so much about what I write, but it's just sitting down to kind of presence myself in the moment.
Mm.
And then there's times where I do maybe have like added stress or added challenge in my life or extra noise in my head. Like those are all indicators that if for me to sit down and write and it just to empty what's in my head. And that's a really, really helpful process, just the emptying of what's rattling in the head. That can create some space from noise and allows me to separate a little bit or create a little bit of distance from whatever I'm feeling or challenged by. And then I can really sit back and choose more intentionally, what's the opportunity here? Who do I want to be in this situation? So it really is a very just a grounding tool for me and a way to get greater clarity so that I can respond in my life with greater intention and purpose.
I love that.
And
That's great.
Yeah, and just going back to what you said about the music in your head, what I hear is that you want to find your pause button, right?
Yeah, could
And
be.
so maybe journaling could be a tool for that,
Mm.
or maybe to
Yeah.
find, listen for what's beyond the music.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I know
Yeah.
throughout my life in fits and starts, I've tried journaling before bed, to your point, kind of empty things that are in my head, because I do find from time to time I will wake up in the middle of the night with some of those daily running thoughts. Luckily, not too
Mhm.
often, but uh, the logical thing for me was let's get those things out of my head and on paper. So I'm not trying to replay those. I will say, admittedly, that replaying of situations and kind of reframing or what if, scenarios of situations probably does come out in my dreams more often than it should, where I'm trying to kind of fix something or rearrange something or complete something.
Mhm.
So maybe that's where I need to to focus my attention and tap into of, why I'm always doing that in my dreams. So
Mhm. Yeah.
lots to learn for sure. Well, Carla, as you look forward in your business, what are some of the things that you're excited about in the upcoming year or so?
Yeah. So what I'm excited about is discovering ways to really increase uh, impact
Mm.
for people. So, as a coach, I only have so many hours I can trade for time, but I'm looking at ways to create self studies or online experiences where people can, that maybe coaching isn't the perfect fit for them, but they want to do something on their own, that I could really share the tools in a different model or form. And so, self studies or online experiences, looking to speak more where I can reach more people at one time. So speaking is something that's expanding, and always just looking for ways to serve my clients really in deeper, more profound ways. So my vision has always been to build a small, remarkable business that just has really deep impact for people and ripples to everything they're up to and everyone that's around them.
Love it. Love it. So, Carla, if our listeners want to reach out, they want to learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, the best way is through my website, which is carlareeves.com. So CarlaReeves.com.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Carla. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise, Felina, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.